Welcome to Take 2014, screenhog.co.uk's movie review podcast. I'm Ben Raphael and I'm joined with my regular co-host, Mrs. Simon Adams.
I'm here again, hello. Got a lot of catching up to do, I just realised.
Yeah, we've got a hell of a backlog, which probably comes from having a month's worth of movies to kind of...
Yeah, it's actually had some good releases recently. We've actually been going to see things again. And
Yeah, I've got to say, March was a bit of a dry month for me. I seem to just play a lot of fucking games instead. But yeah, we've got a shit ton to get through today. So it's going back quite a way now, but the first one we got tonight to do is, of course, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which came out a long time. I don't actually think it's still on.
No, it's a long time ago. Like when you said it was on the list to do, I was surprised.
Most of the intelligence community doesn't believe he exists. The ones that do call him the Winter Soldier. He's a ghost. You'll never find him.
It's about, what, 6 weeks ago at least?
Probably. But the written review's been on the site pretty much.
Yeah, we got that out pretty fast because, well, I'll spread the good word of it, I suppose. Not going to give it away. It's a good film.
It is good. It is good. I'd heard good things about it before I managed to see it. Some people saying it was Marvel's best effort.
I would possibly agree.
It's one of them. It's certainly up there. It's very good. And the thing I liked about it the most was it finally gave Captain America a time to shine. I can't help but feel he's always been a bit overshone by other people. Like the original Captain America movie, it felt like it was so obsessed with getting him into the present day that it glossed over all his World War II adventures. Like really did gloss. I mean, they were a montage practically.
Yeah, there was only one real battle after he became Captain America that wasn't a montage, and I mean, I think it was necessary to get him up to the present day so we could have him in the Avengers, but it is a shame because that's where he made his name and everyone knows him in the future from what he did, and we was like, well, he took down one guy essentially.
Yeah, and
a whole operation, but
it was very glossed over. And then in the Avengers, I can't help but feel he was like a bit overshadowed by the flashier members of the group.
The people that can do, like, especially in when the airship is going down. And
it's like,
I can literally do nothing here to help.
It
runs on electricity.
Yeah, so this was the first time I thought, you know what, he's actually getting to be the hero he should be. And it was good because, you know, Chris Evans is back in the part, and I think he's fucking perfect in the part.
He's great.
He looks the part. He's got a great kind of. He's got a great shyness to him. That's very. That's really.
He's very humble. Is that the word?
Yeah, humble. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Yeah, he's very humble. He doesn't really live up to like the big flashy I'm a legend, I'm a badass image. He's quite like he's just still the down home boy from. Where's he from? New York.
He's very wholesome, isn't he?
Yeah, he's proper American wholesome.
But it's never sickening. I mean, the cameo in Thor 2, where he, you know, it's just playing up his stereotypes. Maybe he is, but it's not exactly what he's like, really.
No, not at all. And Chris Evans does a great job. In fact, he is penned in for 6 films, and he's done 3 now.
Yeah.
So we're halfway through his time as Captain America.
I did hear the other day that it's going to be his 3rd Captain America, maybe the last one. So he's obviously penned in for more group numbers than he is, well, an equal amount.
Right. I know he's going to be in at least the Avengers 3 and Captain America 3 before he probably calls it a day, but yeah, I think Chris Evans is great, and as I say, he gets a lot of time to shine here. I thought he was very good, but if there's another character that really gets a lot of time in the spotlight, it's probably Black Widow.
Yeah, and we read some articles when this film was out about people criticising her for just being there so Marvel can have some boobs on show.
I don't think that was the case at all.
I don't think that's fair at all. I was thinking maybe back in when she was in Iron Man 2, maybe they thought, right, we need a badass hot girl, Scarlett Johansson's available, let's get her. Probably. But in this film, she's probably one of the deepest Marvel characters out of every film we've seen.
Yeah, because she's a real person, I think that's what it comes down to. She hasn't got powers to hide behind, or, you know, she's not... Like Thor, I love Thor, but he's basically like kind of like, oh, I'm a Norse god, like to beat people over the head with my hammer, where she's actually a real person. And I thought she was really good in this as well. She got a lot of time to shine, show off her abilities, and she's a bit of a badass despite having absolutely no powers at all.
She's almost a better fighter than Captain America. He's relying on his powers to beat people up, but she kicks just as much ass as he does.
Oh yeah, easily. She gets just as many action sequences and all the rest of it. She's good, and she's very central to the plot as well.
Yeah,
It did lead me to beg the question, if Black Widow is so prominent, where the fuck is Hawkeye?
Yeah, I was wondering that.
Because he does not feature in this at all, but I think the writers have actually come out and said, look, we could have shoehorned him in for no reason at all,
Yeah.
or we just left him out on the assumption that he is doing something else.
Yeah, I can see it, and it's almost better this way, but they did replace him sort of with the sort of B-list extra superhero in the form of Falcon,
Yeah.
who I knew nothing about.
No, I really didn't either.
He's a
but-
guy with wings. It's Archangel, as far as I'm aware.
Pretty much, yeah. But it's played by, Falcon's played by Anthony Mackie. I really like Anthony
Yeah,
Mackie.
he's good.
He's like, every time I see him, he's always really fun.
Yeah.
And like hearing interviews with this guy, he has so much enthusiasm for like Marvel movies. He loves the fact that he's in a superhero movie, and he's just really happy to be in one.
Even though he's playing the Falcon, who
Yeah, the Falcon
he didn't
does-
really help.
He does it towards the end.
He's all right. I mean, I'm sure he'd have gotten by without a cap. But I liked Anthony Mackie. He's very fun, and he's so down to earth.
Yeah.
Especially when, like, the opening scene, which if you went to see, oh god, I can't remember what it was. We got the first 20 minutes of the film shown to us that night.
Yeah, I'd seen a lot of this movie before going into it.
But the whole bit where he's running around Washington DC with Captain America,
and getting laughed by him like
Yeah.
72 times.
he's it's if a superhero is out running with you and you're getting lapped by him, I don't think I'd react as down to earth as he did. He's like, yeah, it's nice to meet you. You should stop by and help me pick up this chick. I was like, you're so cool.
He was cool. I mean, the last time I saw him in was Pain and Gain last year, and he was great
Yeah.
in that as well. So he's somebody I really want to see more of, because I like him. He's just got a certain kind of, as you see, he's down to earth. He's got almost a laid back charisma to him.
Yeah,
I
that's
really
exactly
like
what
him.
it is. But then you've got to think that being in a Marvel film gives you that extra exposure. I mean, Scarlett Johansson was never a small-time actress, but you've got to look at her career list since being in a Marvel movie.
It certainly doesn't hurt, does it? You know,
It's almost, I think it's pretty much doubled whatever sort of quality film she's been in, or even the number of exposure
and
she's
yet,
getting.
ironically, Chris Evans.
Well, he's going the other way, though. It's his personal choice, I believe.
Yeah, but he's been in like a lot of stuff that's really good, but it just doesn't get the exposure. Like he was in Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Which did that come up before? That came up well
Oh,
before
yeah.
the Avengers, but he was in that, and he was awesome in that. He was also in The Iceman with Michael Shannon.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, really overlooked film. That film's a really, really good film. Yeah, he plays an ice cream man hit assassin. He basically drives around in an ice cream van killing people. I didn't recognise him at first because he's got long hair and like a beard and everything, and just like, but he was really good in it. And
I get the feeling he takes the craft very seriously rather than worrying about any sort of public response. I mean, sure, he's in the biggest movie franchise ever, and he's great in the part, but I almost feel the part of it's just it gets him these options to do other projects, because he's moving into directing now. He said he's ready
Yeah.
to stop acting altogether, apart
Yeah.
from putting on the cape.
I don't think he likes. I've heard. Oh my god, I don't know what this has to do with anything, but I've heard he suffers from anxiety,
Oh yeah,
and he doesn't like the public spectacle and being in the public eye too much, which is fucking bad
He's
news when you're
Captain
Captain America. But you've got Sam Jackson back as Nick Fury, who's
he's good.
It's Sam
it's
Jackson.
Sam Jackson. It's Nick Fury.
And you've got Robert Redford, big name,
It is a big name and clearly a villain.
straight from the trailer,
Yeah.
blatantly. I mean, there was a lot of. This is kind of maybe a little bit spoilatory here, but this has been out for a while.
Yeah,
now.
we'll not worry
But
about that.
There was rumours that he was actually going to be Red Skull.
Oh yeah,
Because let's face it, Red Skull just wears masks when he's not like showing his red skull.
yeah, that's true.
But he wasn't.
No, he was just.
He was just a guy.
Yeah.
But
I liked him. He was good. It was nice to have some of his caliber in again.
Yeah, it kind of gives the villain a bit of gravitas, I suppose.
It's as good as Hugo Weaving was. I mean, there's something of Robert Redford's generation of actors that almost automatically puts them above other generations.
But on top of him, you got like the likes of Kobe Smulders coming back. Even Toby Jones, who was in the original Captain America, making a little
Yeah,
cameo.
I wasn't expecting him.
I was
at
not
all.
expecting. I thought that was a really cool twist. But yeah, I thought that was really good. But you've also got a young girl called, I say young girl, a young woman, to be politically correct there, called Emily Van Camp, who is Agent 13. Now, I don't know if she's anything in the comic book, but she's the agent who helps him.
I have no idea. This character was so underplayed in the
I
film.
think she's in the comic books. I think
Possibly
Agent
is.
13 is, but I don't know much about her. But
They've clearly just introduced a character for something in the future, but
But this girl, Emily Van Camp, I was sitting there recognizing
Yeah, I
her,
reckon I did as
and I was
well.
thinking for ages, what the fuck is she off? And then I realised she's on that fucking TV show that's on E4, Revenge.
Yeah.
And
You watched that a lot?
I've never seen that at all. But yeah, that's what I know her from. But you know, she's okay.
It just seemed like a bit like a pointless character to me, because it almost sets her up to be a villain at times, and then, you know, I never really...
But I think that was the point of this movie, like, you don't really know
that's true.
who's friends and who's enemies.
It was a Cold War thriller, so it was...
It was, actually. That's what I liked about this movie. It wasn't kind of an all-out, silly action, like, superhero extravaganza.
Apart from the last half hour.
Yeah, the last half hour. To be honest, that was the thing, though. I mean, this, for the most part, was a kind of, as you say...
There's more people talking, thriller. Or, like, chase scenes, almost.
It was a thriller more than an action movie for a lot
completely
of this.
Agree.
And the thing is, I found that that's when it was best, when it was doing something different. And I felt the more it played up to the superhero big, like, explosion extravaganza, and I also felt the more it linked back into the original movie, which, to be honest, is not something I expected at all. I felt it suffered from it.
I agree as well. I normally like interconnecting things, but this felt so forced, and it felt like it undermined a lot of stuff what's come before it, including Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I have no idea how it's going to continue.
I know, like... Apparently it is, though. Apparently there's an episode already been on that shows what happens.
There's literally a scene when Nick Fury is setting fire to sort of some equipment in the back of his trunk, and I was just imagining at that point that he was just burning like film reels of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because it just looks like Marvel's washing their hands with this. And
it's interesting. Like, there's one thing you can see about this film. It actually takes the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a more interesting direction than we've seen in any other film.
Well, if you look at Iron Man 3, it's almost wrapping up what's come before. Thor 2 is its own self-contained story. This one is the one that pushes us forward. So I did enjoy that, but you're right. I found the last half hour, the actiony, superhero-y bits, when the big reveal came, it felt a bit too hammy for me. Like the whole thing with the airship, I won't go into too much. It wasn't quite believable. I know we're in a universe where there's Norse gods, but I didn't think that this could actually happen. Whereas it felt out of place because the rest of the film felt completely realistic. Yeah, you're right.
It did jump. It went from, like, you know, I mean, obviously Captain America's a fucking superhero, but it felt really fairly grounded. In intrigue and spies and all that, and then it does just like, oh fuck it, let's go out. Let's, you know, you're like one step away from having Iron Man fly in at one point.
You really are, and like that's why Falcon was there, so you didn't have to have Iron Man fly in. But I thought it was a really interesting way to take it, especially in the first 3/4 of the film. And I mean, the last half hour is not bad. It's still entertaining as hell and still very fun. It just felt too different to the front half of the film. But
yes, you're right, it does. But I mean, as you say, this isn't by no means a bad film. This continues Marvel's legacy of making very entertaining blockbuster films. It probably is one of their best efforts to date. It plays up to Captain America very, very well as a character. Everybody in this fits into their roles and does a great job. It took this. I kind of had an idea of what was going to happen going into this, and it did still take the story in some surprising directions.
Yeah, it kept me guessing compared to a lot of films. Like there's the whole Nick Fury plot like goes through. I never knew what he was going to do or what was going to happen to him next at any time.
I was surprised at certain points.
And you know, we know that he's got Nick Fury, Sam Jackson had an 8-film contract or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, at times I was counting on my fingers as to how many he had left just in case, but it did keep me guessing a lot of the time.
Yeah, but overall I think this is a great movie, and I would thoroughly recommend. If it's still on anywhere and you still haven't seen it, go and see it. But if you
it's deserving of. We give it 5 stars, I think, didn't we?
No, I think I give it 4.
You give it 4? All right.
Yeah, because I did the written review as soon as I got back from seeing it, actually.
All right.
I give it 4, but it is good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Right then, the next big thing on our list is, of course, something, well, we've all been very excited about. It's the Raid 2.
Yeah, all 3 of us.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how this is going to work. The Raid 2, Berendal, and it's not called that anymore, though, is it?
It's called the Raid Revenge. The first one's the Raid Redemption.
Yeah.
This is the Raid Revenge, I think.
It was good.
It was
Let's
good.
say that at the top.
It was good. And
I saw this on an advanced screening. It was part of the Cineworld Unlimited package.
yeah, I know.
I saw it about 2 weeks early.
You did, and I really wanted to see it then, but I was fucking away.
And I tell you what, it was full. So there must have been a lot of fans from the first one in, even though it's not done amazingly well at the box office compared to what I thought. Has it?
No, I mean even the sequel's doing pretty poor, to be honest. Which is frustrating because the first one has got a cult following on DVD.
Well, I watched it at your house the
Yeah.
first time I saw it, and then as soon as it popped up on the list to go and see, I was like, I'm going to see that, and it's become possibly my. I'm not going to say possibly. I'm trying to ham down my reaction just in case people don't like it, but it's my film of the year so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I enjoyed it that much, and it has that much depth to it.
Well, I don't know how I was going to do this, but I met up with Kash. Also saw it.
Did he?
I met, yeah, no, did he? Such a surprise. I sat down with him earlier in the week, and we recorded a little mini review for it.
Do you want to cut to that now?
Yeah, we'll cut to it now, shall we? Alright, I gotta say then, Kash, when I heard there was going to be a second Raid film, I completely fucking rolled my eyes. I just didn't want it to happen, because the first one was such a great, tight action film that I couldn't help but think a sequel was going to be just a lazy cash-in. Somebody's obviously going to grab the rights to it and just fucking milk it for all it's worth.
There was a part of me that thought that, but there was also a part of me. Come on, I think it happened with you as well. I just lost my shit. I thought, yes, that film was just amazing. And when I heard that they were doing a sequel, they announced they had the same director writer, and they had the same main character guy as well. And it would be kind of a couple of hours set after the original. So I thought it may not be kind of completely as good as the first one, but it's got some of the key ingredients in there to be a semi-decent film. So I was really excited. And then I watched the trailer quite a while ago, and it didn't actually show that much, but it did give me kind of a good taste of what was to come.
Well, I must admit, once I kind of heard it was coming out, and I didn't really like the idea of it, I really tuned out about everything about this movie. I didn't listen to any news, particularly pay any attention. I certainly didn't watch any trailers. I just thought, well, I'll watch it when it comes out, maybe, if it's any good. And it wasn't really till it kind of came out, or about a week before it came out, that I started paying attention to it again.
Yeah. Again, I think the night before I watched it, it came out on the Thursday. I went on the Friday. The Wednesday night, I watched the Raid 1, I think about twice.
Yeah, it's so good, the first one.
Honestly, the first one is absolutely incredible. If you haven't seen the first one, I would say don't watch the second one. Watch that, and then the second.
It's on Netflix right now.
It's absolutely incredible. I mean, I don't know if it's dubbed on Netflix, but I would say get the subtitle version. I've never been a fan of.
I've never seen any other version than the subtitle version.
I've heard there's a dub, and the dub is actually quite good. But for me, stuff like Bruce Lee films just completely destroy dubbing, especially in foreign films.
Yeah, well, there's a long history of them being very, very poor dubs, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think I was just stigmatized by it. But yeah, that was my impression going into the film. I thought, I love the first one. This is probably going to be as good as the first one, but it'll still be quite fun. Let's watch it. And then I watched it, and then I was like, wow.
Yeah, this is the bigger, badder, dare I say better?
For me, it's better. Hands down, I would say this is the better film. And it's not often. The only other sequel for me that was better, other two sequels, sorry, I should say, it was Return of the King and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Those are only two sequels in my infinite library of films that I've watched that I would say are probably better than the originals.
I see you're wrong.
And this is now the third one.
I'm undecided whether this is a better movie than the first one, but I'll go into reasons why as we progress. But The Raid 2 is the fucking giant crime epic sequel to the original, which was a fairly tight, low-budget action film set about a SWAT team who go into raid a tower block controlled by a drug lord. This one is set, a couple of hours after the original?
It begins a couple of hours after, but it doesn't effectively start until, I think it's 2 years after the original.
Yeah, but basically the general kind of plot is that Super Cop Rama from the original movie goes undercover to infiltrate the crime gangs that are starting to vie for power in the wake of the original movie. Does that sound about right? and he kind of stumbles upon like internal power struggles as he tries to bring them all down from the inside. And let's face it, it's very much an excuse just to have a load of ridiculous fight scenes.
Yeah, it's crazy because, as you said, it starts off where he finishes the first film. He then speaks to one of the cops. That's not a dirty cop, and that's when it all kind of becomes twisted and convoluted, and you realize that the first film was just kind of a stepping stone compared to the rest of the empire of the criminal world, and he says that you have to go in there and take them all down and everything.
Yeah, because I think the crux of the matter is that while these criminal gangs, there'll probably always be criminal gangs, it's the top brass of the police force are completely in bed with these people, and that's why they're untouchable. So Rama and his new undercover squad, or undercover sergeant, or whatever the hell he is, kind of are planning on bringing them down.
Yeah. It's about kind of getting it done. I mean, the guy goes far as saying, we'll protect your family. Just you have to get in there and you have to do it because the main guy is a relatively new rookie cop. He's not known in kind of the policing world. He's definitely not known in the criminal world. So he's like the perfect candidate to go in and be undercover.
Yeah, well, isn't he new to the police force because he kind of went to try and rescue his brother in the first movie? Yeah,
exactly. He went to rescue his brother. I don't know if that was kind of the reason why he joined the police force. It doesn't really kind of link to that, but it's definitely hinted that he wanted to be part of the raid that went into the tower to rescue his brother.
Because at the beginning of the original movie, you see his father say, like, just go in and get him, and then the movie starts.
Yep, that's when it starts, the raid. And this is actually, it's quite funny that you say it's kind of in regards to his brother, the first film, because at the beginning of the second film, I don't know if we should spoil it, actually.
I think you've already have, really indirectly.
So maybe a second film, something happens, and it just kind of pushes it along.
Something completely unexpected and nothing we've hinted at. But to be honest, it's not that much of a spoiler. It literally happens in the first 30 seconds of the movie. But essentially, the reason Rama kind of is encouraged to go undercover is because these new villains essentially murder his brother, who stopped behind to take over the gang he dismantled in the original movie.
Yeah. They basically say, you can't ascend. This is not your place. You're like a cockroach compared to us. Even your boss knew his place. You can't be so cheeky, try and be bigger than what you are.
Yeah.
So then they kind of just murder him, and then obviously the main guy finds out, and that's eventually what kind of makes him go undercover and enter prison and try and get the trust of one of the sons of the major crime lords, and kind of the film kind of starts from there.
Yeah. There is a fairly big, grand crime epic theme story going on in this, and it does really try with it. Like Gareth Evans, who's the writer and director of this, I always think this is really strange. Gareth Evans is a Welshman, and yet his two biggest films are Indonesian fucking martial arts movies.
No, it's crazy, isn't it? It's I read up about Gareth Evans and kind of the whole story about the Raid 1, and I think he went to Indonesia to learn about this martial art, and he met the
it is Indonesia, isn't it? It's not. Is it Malaysia or Indonesia?
Indonesia.
I thought it was, yeah.
So, is it? Yeah, it is Indonesian. Oh god. So anyway, he goes to Indonesia. He's trying to find out about this specific martial art that the guy. I try and pronounce it now. Aiko Uwais, I think he's called.
Is that the guy who plays
Rama?
Rama, yeah.
Yeah. So he meets him, and he's a truck driver, and he shows him, and he's just so impressed. He's like, right, fuck it, we're going to make a movie with you. And he doesn't break up. Sorry, he groups up or partners up with the other guy, the Mad Dog in the original film.
Yayan Ruhian.
Ruhian, yeah.
Is it something like that?
I see you're on.
I'm terrible. Anyone who's listened to any amount of podcasts or reviews, I'm fucking terrible with pronouncing names.
I was going to say, I see you're on IMDb too.
Yeah. Oh yes, it's my only tool on these podcasts.
But yeah, he met up with he kind of partnered up with him, and between them they kind of did the choreography, and I think they helped with the story. But it's all very much Gareth Evans' kind of child.
Yes.
And even though he kind of died in the first one, a Mad Dog, he comes back in the second one, and it's a pretty decent way they've kind of bring him back. But he's also had a big part in terms of choreography and getting it set up.
Yes, I remember reading in the original he was one of the chief stunt coordinators, and as you say, yes, yeah, Yayan Ruin is back in a completely different part. As a completely different, he's in a different part that's pretty much the same as the one in the original, but it basically just gives him a chance to beat the shit out of people.
Yeah, and you know what? He's fucking brilliant at it.
He is really good.
One, you see this sheer scale and the quickness and the speed and the technique and the power of him when he kind of kills effectively the second protagonist, the kind of leader of the cops.
Yeah.
Me, that was shocking because I'm like, okay, this guy's the leader of the cops. There's no way he can kill him. He's just going to pull out a gun or a knife, and he just doesn't. He just twists his neck and breaks it and just kills.
What I liked as well in the first movie is that it's mentioned that like the drug baron's got two lieutenants,
Yep.
two right-hand men, and one of them's like an accountant, and the other one's a mad dog, and
Yeah.
it never really tells you which one's which.
And when you first look at him, you think that no way that guy's a mad dog.
I know he's really
He
small.
he's really small. He looks quite elderly. He's quite kind of scrawny. But then you see him in action, you just think, fuck.
It's just pure like aggression and speed, and it's just.
His preparation is 6 months of Red Bull. Seriously, he just fucking goes nuts. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And I maintain that the big climactic fight scene in the original between Rama, his brother, and him is just fucking the best fight scene I've ever seen. It's like ridiculous. It goes on for so long, and it's so simple. There's no like fancy tricks. It's literally three guys beating the shit out of each other in a room. There's nothing like to get in the way or no fancy tricks. It is just pure.
It is just unadulterated, just kind of effort going into it, and it shows you that this guy's so tough. He needs two other guys who are kind of tough in their own right to take him down.
Oh yeah, and he like he really does get the better of them for most of the fight as well. That's what's the impressive thing.
Towards the end, when they start getting kind of weapons in, they manage to take him down. I suppose you could argue everyone's kind of tired from fighting their way up the tower and everything, but I mean, it's I think he's quite clearly the better man or the better.
Easily, and I just love that fight. So yeah, when he crops up again in this one as a new character called Prakoso,
yeah.
Prakoso, I don't know. I was like, oh yeah, cool, it's him again. And, like I was staring at him for a while, going, is that the same guy?
Yeah, I knew he was in it, but I didn't know what he's rating, so I kind of almost recognised him. But then I was waiting for them to say that he's ready to avenge his brother that died or something.
I thought he was going to be the other twin, and you find out the other one was like the lesser fighter.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be that, but it isn't. He's just a brand new character, and I think it actually works. I think it's good that they didn't just kind of make a cop-out. And in fact, his storyline is completely separate from the main protagonist storyline. He's got separate
I actually thought it was slightly, it was kind of slightly just plonked in the middle of the movie almost. I mean, it serves a purpose, but when he kind of first appeared, I was like, well, who the fuck is he? Like, I've already sat and watched this film for about an hour. Tons of characters getting thrown at me. At least they're talking to each other, though.
Yeah.
This guy, he's just a fucking, like, obviously some kind of murderer.
Yeah. I mean, his story and his kind of destiny, if you will, are quite tragic.
I'm also...
You actually see kind of there's like an underlying towards this kind of criminal underworld. It's like, the grey area in the black and the white.
Yeah,
and I initially thought him and the main character would maybe get together and join forces, or they would get together and fight at some point each other.
Yeah, I thought that as well.
It never happens, and in a weird way, I think it kind of works. I actually prefer that.
Well, I was thinking, like, I was expecting the same as you. I was expecting to be he was going to be like the ultimate big bad, maybe a reluctant big baddie. But,
yes.
But it doesn't go that way, and it's probably for the best, because let's face it, we've already seen those two fight each other. But the character's a strange one, because you're right. He's kind of like the human side of the gangsters. He's like almost like a reluctant hitman who he lives like a tramp, essentially. He looks like a tramp. I get the impression he lives like shit, and he gives all his money to his like a strange wife and kid who are basically have nothing to do with him other than to take money off him.
Yep.
Because they're absolutely sickened by what he does, although it seems almost hypocritical that they'll still take money off him, because I got the impression that his wife was very nicely dressed.
Yeah, his wife is fucking doll. She's up to the neck in bling. You could tell if that was a divorce kind of settlement agreement, she got off on the best fucking, a lawyer.
Definitely. But
Yeah, it's really good, but I mean, you can see him. All he cares about is looking after his son, and his wife's like, "Well, you're never going to see him as long as you're this mad dog. Essentially, you're just kind of killing people. I don't want my son to ever know that you exist."
And I get the impression, because I've seen a few screenshots and stuff on the internet that suggest that he actually had a lot more material shot. It just ended up on the cutting room floor.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'll have to wait for the kind of director's cut of the unedited version to come out to kind of see that. But I can definitely see where that comes from. Because you only really see him twice, and those are kind of the first and last time you see him.
Yeah.
And as I say, it's not... you probably don't need that for the main story, his kind of particular story arc. But I'm glad they kept it in, because it was entertaining to watch, and it was good to kind of see that side of, as I say, the criminal underworld as well.
Yeah, it was good. It was a nice little character, although it did slightly feel... It felt somewhat disjointed until his plot thread started coming to a close. But it did, it served its purpose in the end. But if anything, I think one thing I like about this movie is one criticism, because I do love this. Some of the fight scenes are absolutely fucking amazing. The first, I think this film is essentially split into 3 acts, as things tend to be. I think the first act's fucking class, because you kind of get exposed to this wider law and wider fiction of this criminal world that Gareth Evans is using as his playground to tell these stories, and you kind of get a grander scale story. Rama going undercover, getting involved with all these big fucking nasty criminals who make the original guy, the first guy in the original movie look like small fry. You also get some great fight scenes, like the riot in the prison in the exercise yard.
The rain, yeah. Oh,
it's just like this fucking brawl in this swamp, and it's so violent. There's just people with shivs getting just knifed.
Just shivs and getting knifed, and implements stuck in people's necks, and then the riot police come in, and then people kind of kick the shit out of them.
I love when that first wave of riot police came in, and I was thinking, oh, he's like,
here we go.
And then, no, they just get involved in this fucking brawl as well, and it just goes on forever. And there's a bit where Rama's fighting this big, balding guy, and this guy's a big fucker. But I'm sure there's a bit where Rama, breaks his knee.
Yeah.
In a really brutal way, and it's the first time I've ever been sitting in the cinema where there was a collective gasp of astonishment. Just there was a wince across the whole audience. And that's something that what I loved about the fight scenes throughout this film is that I've never there was people laughing at how cartoonishly violent this film was. And it was I've never really seen it through people laughing at gore and violence in that way before. Not at the cinema, at least. I mean, you kind of sometimes have a chuckle when you're sitting in your living room watching it, but it was just in waves across the whole audience. It was just so outrageous at times that people couldn't help but just laugh in disbelief of some of the shit they were seeing.
Yeah. I think the demographic of the cinema that I was in was generally kind of male between 20 and 30. And everyone was just like, like that throughout the general kind of...
Here's a question for you. Was your screening busy? Was it full, or was it quite quiet?
Mine was pretty much packed out.
See, I went to see kind of the last showing on a Tuesday night, which probably isn't the most ideal time to go and see it. But goddamn, there was maybe 7 people in the screen.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, damn, man. And you know what? I'm glad I went. I'm glad I went when I did, because I went back last night went to the same cinema last night to see Locke, Tom Hardy's new film, and the Raid 2 was down to 1 showing a day. And I was thinking, Jesus Christ, you're still showing Frozen 3 times a day.
But the Raid 2's only getting once. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that is a fucking travesty. I'm sorry.
It is. But at the same time, it's they show what people will go to see, and
it's true. They do kind of change their screenings according to attendance.
Yeah, they do. I mean, one film I never got a chance to see this year was Her, which was nominated for loads of Oscars. Joaquin Phoenix's new movie where he falls in love with his phone, because it was on 2 showings a day for a week, and then was taken off straight away. And I just didn't get a chance to even check the listings by the time it was gone.
That's ridiculous. And then they wonder why people pirate. I'm sorry, but that's just...
I know. But I think the trouble with this movie is it's kind of almost got a barrier that people discount it because of subtitles.
Yeah, it's not really well known. The Raid, it spread through word of mouth. I haven't seen pretty much any marketing for the Raid 2 in terms of TV, in terms of adverts, in terms of billboard posters. I honestly haven't seen anything.
I honestly don't think they have the money to do it.
They've probably spent everything on the film. And as I say, the only way I found out about it and when it's coming out is because I've checked online, I've checked timings, I've checked kind of release schedules, etc., etc.
Well, that's it, yeah.
And I've made sure that I've put it out there because I think that's what this film deserves. And I think if you watch it, I think you do the same as well. This film deserves a much greater audience, much recognition.
Well,
the original one does as well. But I mean, I'm sure kind of that has this on Netflix. It's probably had a very good kind of DVD release, and that's why the second film has such a big budget as well. And
well, you're right.
It's displayed. It's displayed as well because I mean the original, as you were saying, you could tell it was all pretty much done in one room because all the backgrounds and the settings look virtually the same. They kind of changed the wallpaper here or moved a wall off the carpet around. Whereas this one, it's full on kind of landscapes and.
It's all around Jakarta and all sorts of weird places.
Absolutely.
You go from kind of like derelict slums to swanky nightclubs to all sorts of high-rise posh offices
or something. Yeah.
So there is a lot more variety in this movie, but I mean, I come back to my original point because we've gone way off fucking topic. But I think this film's split into 3 acts. Now, the first act's great because it kind of reintroduces you to the character, like Rama, the character, what's happening in the first one, and then it expands you into this larger world that looks quite interesting to play with. And there's plenty of fight scenes, like the first fight scene you kind of see is that fight in the prison toilet.
Yeah, that scene is brilliant, actually.
It's so good.
I just thought what they're going to do is they're going to show him kick the door open and then get his head kicked in and then cut to black. But it actually lasts for a good maybe 5-10 minutes of him just kicking the shit out of everyone and then eventually being overpowered.
It's so well choreographed though with the use of the cubicle and the toilet door and like you're letting a couple of people in, beating the shit out of them, then letting a couple more in.
Yeah, let a couple more in, close the door, chuck them overboard. But the tension that builds up before that, you kind of see the flashbacks of kind of what's brought him to where he is right now.
Yeah.
Kind of the death of his brother, him telling his wife that he has to leave, him joining the kind of undercover coppers and knowing what he has to do to get there, and then kind of seeing where he wants to be to get his revenge, and the name of the person that killed his brother, and then kind of the door just about breaks open, and that's when it all kicks in. And that is pretty much where the movie starts.
Yeah, it's kind of almost recapping and fast forwarding to the present, as it were, up to that point. But it's really well done. But the first act for this film's great. And the trouble is, like, there's loads happens in the first act. There's loads of action. It's really good. It's very fast paced, and you never really get bored. But I think when it hits the second act, and there's a lot of focus moves away from Rama, and Yan Yan Ruin's character is no longer in the movie, and things move to a greater focus on Uko, who is the kind of big gangland boss's son, played by a young man called, God damn it, Arifin Putra?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That sounds good.
Who's kind of trying to eke out his own place in the criminal underworld, despite his father's reluctance to give him any real responsibility. And I think the film really does shift towards what he's getting on to do, and like very much what he's doing to become this like powerful entity in the criminal underworld. And I thought at that point the film really slowed down because Rama's no longer in it. There's no fucking fight scenes. There's a lot of kind of plotting and moving and shaking, and it starts to pick up a little bit towards the end of it when the baddies for the third and final act start getting introduced. But it's not bad per se, because I do think it does a decent job with the kind of crime epic, but it's just not particularly great either. Like, the strength of this movie is its energy and its fight scenes, and there was a long period in the middle where it just kind of lulled. So while it wasn't bad, I did find myself thinking, damn, this film's been on a long time. When's the next fight? I did get that feeling. I think part of me thinks, I agree. In terms of a crime epic, there's much better films out there. This isn't a bad film in terms of the story and the setting and the narrative. No, definitely not.
However, as you say, there are better films, and it does kind of bring the whole tone of the film down. I think another part of me thinks, though, you couldn't have the whole film just kind of one big fight. It just wouldn't work for that either.
No, it worked for the original. But But no, like the thing is, I got to a point where I was thinking, you know what, there needs to be another fight again. And just as I was starting to think of that, what do you know? There was fucking loads of them.
Boom, 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 boom. Yep.
When things ramp up again for the third and final act, like I think the third act you could say is probably fills in the last 45 minutes of this movie.
I think that's our 45 minutes. Yeah.
And it pretty much is the original movie again, condensed and like turned up even further.
Yeah.
It's just a constant assault of increasingly violent and gory fight scenes that push the fucking boat out further and further until it sails off into the great sea of gore. It's fucking ridiculous at the fight scenes in here. Yep. And what I really liked actually is that during the second act, it actually builds up kind of almost three boss characters, like video game bosses.
Yep. You see kind of the it's like the Mega Man bosses. You kind of see like the hammer man or the hammer girl rather, and you see the baseball bat man and the sicko man. But yeah, these three bosses, you get introduced to them, and they're very different kind of fighting techniques.
Yeah.
The first guy that you meet is kind of is made to show that he's better than the Mad Dog in the first film because he ends up killing him. The second person kind of wields a baseball bat and uses a baseball as well to kind of defeat his enemies and just kind of smash him in the head and kind of just generally maim him and cause as much damage. And then the third one, probably my favourite, is a lady called Hammer Girl, and as you can think, she uses two hammers. Now, these are not kind of battle hammers by any means. These are like fucking
DIY hammers, aren't they? You know?
Yeah, I think I saw the Wix label on one at the bottom of them. I know this guy's from Wales. I think that's probably where we got the props from. But the hammers are really tough, and I'm sure she sharpened the back of them, you know, where you can kind of lift the screws.
Yeah, the claw bits.
Yeah, the claw bits. Because what you see is her kind of literally smacking the back of the hammer into some guy's neck and then just pulling it all the way down to kind of just above his lower back. And you just think, wow, that's incredible. That's just crazy.
It's so violent. Like the image of hammers, and it conjures up like some ideas of very violent things.
You see full-on people getting their head caved in. It doesn't kind of shy away from it at all. It's just absolutely brutal. She's really talented as well. She's not just kind of a token female fighter. She's really talented. The fight is really well choreographed. And I think she puts a lot of effort into it. And her character is actually deaf.
Yeah, well, is her character deaf, or is the baseball boy deaf?
I think it's her character because the baseball guy talks.
Oh, he does. Yeah, he does. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. It is actually it is her because he actually reacts when people talk to him, and he then always grabs her and then
grabs her and tells her what's going on.
Yeah, she's a weird character. Like she always wears sunglasses and she wears the little hammers, and she looks like she looks like a I don't know, like a Korean schoolgirl most of the time.
Yeah, she's like a schoolgirl or like a kind of businesswoman or something. But yeah, when she takes out the hammers, it's just fucking mental.
Yeah.
And then these are the three bosses, as you say, that kind of lead up to the final fight, or the final act, as you say, of the series. He fights two of them at once, and then the final one.
And Jesus Christ, man! The fights that take place between Rama and those guys they're just increasingly insane. Particularly the one in the kitchen.
I will say the one in the kitchen is the final fight of the film, and as the final fight of the film, is probably the greatest final fight in a martial art film I've ever seen since like the days of Bruce Lee.
Oh, it's so good.
It's honestly, I think
long. It's continually tense.
Bruce Lee's films, I think you can mirror this in a certain way. Not so much the fighting style and the techniques and the story, but more the kind of film itself. In that when Bruce Lee first came out, he wasn't very well known. His films, probably weren't seen all that much. He was very much kind of a native hero. But then when people kind of went to see these films and saw kind of the speed and the techniques and the action, they kind of, fell in love with Bruce Lee, the man. And, that's why we kind of got blessed with more and more of his films. And I'm sure you remember kind of the final fight from Enter the Dragon, with kind of fighting him in the mirror room. I think this, for me, is just as good as that. It's on par with that. Yeah. I think it's absolutely insane. It's everything you want in a final fight. It's lengthy, it's core, it's even, it's uneven, it's dirty, it's gritty, it's respect for each other, and then it's fuck the respect, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, you're right.
It's two men fighting for absolute survival. And
it's great. It has a real nice pace to it, because it steadily gets like more intense and higher stake as it goes on.
Yeah, it starts off really slow. They kind of, they have this kind of speechless respect for each other, and they kind of get into position, and they got toe to toe, kind of palm to palm, and then they wait for one of them to make the first move, and then they counter, and it's just kind of flexing each other's muscles to show who's the better martial artist.
Yeah, and what I liked about it specifically is that it never felt like Rama was safe, like, oh, he's obviously going to win. It felt like, shit, I don't know who's going to come out on top in this fight, like, at any time.
It sounds kind of ridiculous when you say it. Like, we're sitting here, he's obviously the main character, but don't forget, one of the protagonists in the other film died kind of halfway through, and you never saw that coming. So I honestly thought it could go either way. And there were times where, Rama got the upper hand, you think, okay, he's got it, and then the other guy would just pull some out of the bag, and he would just go back to balance again.
Yeah.
Vice versa, the other guy would kind of do something, and then Rama would kind of get the upper hand again, and it's just insane, just absolutely.
Yeah, it's absolutely breathless, and you're right, it is fucking an amazing fight. And it's this kind of the final act that really, really boosted my overall opinion of this movie.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely flawless as a climax. It's just continually breathless. It's very creative in all its crazy action.
It's as you say, it's the original movie condensed.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
is.
all the bits of the first movie, and then kind of improved heavily on as well.
Yeah, it is. It's given a slightly greater creative flair to all its fight scenes, but it keeps up the intensity of that 3-man fight in the original.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's absolutely great.
We're talking a lot about the kind of martial arts fight. There's actually a really fucking epic car chase in this movie as well.
That car chase was brilliant, wasn't it? I think Fast and Furious can learn something. That car chase was amazing.
It was great. It was it was just like the actual fights. It was dirty. It was like gritty. It was intense. You never really knew who was going to come out alive, what the fuck was going to happen.
Yeah. It's so the main guy is taken away. They're going to kind of take away to get kind of killed or dumped, whatever you want. He's knocked out, and he kind of wakes up in a car, and he then realizes, shit, I'm going to get my head kicked in now. And just as the guys go to reach their guns or the knives, he kind of wakes up and starts, that's where the fight scene starts. And then he's got his mate kind of behind him in another car trying to catch up and trying to rescue him. And then behind him or next to him, you've got kind of the rest of the other gang members. So there's 2 fight scenes going on. There's one guy in the back in the second car trying to rescue the first guy, fighting off all these other gang members. And then you got the first guy and the guy completely unarmed fighting, I think, is it 4?
Yeah.
4 gang members. And it's all close quarters because he's in a car, and it's like a Merc or a Beamer, just a standard car, nothing overly special about it. But he's kind of using the steering wheel to his advantage. He's like banging into cars and smashing windows and using seatbelts as nooses and stuff like that.
It's really good. The thing is, anytime there is a bit of action in this movie, it's always top notch. It's always incredibly exciting. It completely surprised me in what level of violence it would throw at me next.
Yeah,
I didn't really expect it. Some of the stuff you kind of see, it's just relentlessly brutal constantly, and it's great for it. The Raid 2, it is a good movie. It is a great movie. In fact, I think it's certainly a worthy sequel to the original. Like, my greatest fear was that it was going to be an awkward cash-in on an awkward extension of the series that didn't need it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's a great evolution of it. It expands things. It doesn't get the pacing perfect, because I don't think that's necessarily a case of. I think maybe Gareth Evans probably went a bit too ambitious with the plot.
I think, because you said Gareth Evans hasn't really had a huge film, and I think this was his chance to put it out there. And I think you got to give him credit. If he didn't put something risky, it would have just been a really bland film.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's just that the middle portion of the film could use maybe a little bit of trimming here and there. But overall, I think this is my overall opinion. I think this is a film that stands alongside the original. I don't think it's necessarily better. I don't think it's necessarily worse, because I think this one's bigger and nastier.
Yeah.
And it's great because of that. But I don't think it's as tight. And I don't think it's something quite as special as the first one, which came out of nowhere.
Yeah, for me, the first one, I was sitting in the cinema watching it, and it was just so intense for me. My adrenaline was just constantly pumping. I actually think I lost weight. And I think the second film,
sweated it out of you.
yeah, just sweated it out. And I think the second film, for me, I lost even more weight. And using that scale, I have to say that for me, this one's better. And I think you're right. It's not because it's got a better story. It's not even necessarily the budget. I think it's just better because Gareth Evans and the choreographers knew what was so brilliant about the first film, and that was the fights and the choreography. And they've just kind of upped the ante so much in the sequel. Yeah. And to kind of put a perspective or to kind of draw a comparison, do you ever watch The Protector or The Warrior King with Tony Jaa?
No, but I know Tony Jaa. Wasn't he? He's where I proved.
On back.
That's it. Yeah. Yep.
So Tony Jaa did a film, Warrior King. I'm sure many of you have seen it. It's a really good film. It's kind of based on Thai martial arts, but there's one scene in there where it's a constant film. It's basically there's no cutting cameras, and it goes on for about 5 to 10 minutes, and it's really is something epic. I haven't seen anything like it for a while. I watched The Protector 2, or the sequel to that film, and I'm thinking, okay, there's going to be something like this, and it was almost like a parody of the original. It was such a letdown. I felt genuinely let down. I felt really disheartened, and this was before I watched The Raid 2. So there was also kind of a part of me thinking it's going to go the same routes as this and just not be as good as the first one. It's just going to use the name as the original and just kind of ride along on that kind of gust of wind on that little stream. But it doesn't. It kind of definitely uses its own power to thrust itself forward. It uses its own energy.
It does not rest on its own laurels. It knows it wants to be just as good as the first one, and it really goes for it. In fact, it wants to be better than the first one, and it really goes for it. There's nothing held back about this film, and it is great for that. But just actually speaking of Tony Jaa, it looks like he's going to be in The Raid 3.
Yeah. I saw that the other day, and I was like, "Oh my fucking god, that would be amazing." He's announced for Fast and Furious 7.
Yes, he is, yeah.
Rest in peace, Paul Walker. So it'd be interesting to see what part he plays in that. So I'm assuming there's going to be a lot more kind of close quarters combat rather than the cars, which the name would suggest. I think the last 2 or 3 films have not been about the cars at all.
I don't think Fast and the Furious has been about cars for a long time. I don't know what it is about, but
I don't even think Vin Diesel or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson know, but it's it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, I love the Fast and the Furious.
And I can't wait for fucking the new bad guy, Mr. God, I forgot his name now. What's his name?
Jason Statham.
Jason Statham, that's it.
But Jason Statham was actually meant to be in the last one, Fast and the Furious 6, but he had to drop out, and then they got Luke Evans to play his part.
Yeah, they got... he had to drop out because he's filming something else. I can't remember. I love. But I think this is good. I think he's like, the fucking pissed off brother, the bigger, the badder brother.
Yeah. Well, when he came out at the little kind of post-credit stinger, it was good. It was like, oh shit, they know they're going to make enough money for a sequel.
Yeah, absolutely. Because everyone in the cinema knew someone was going to come at the end because it happened in Fast and Furious 5, and that was quite a good kind of cliffhanger.
In the 6th one as well.
Sorry.
It happened did it not happen in the 4th one as well? I can't remember. You know what? I'm going to say it. I don't know if I've ever actually seen the 4th one.
Fourth one.
The 4th one was kind of like the reboot.
The 4th one begins the 5th one where they're trying to break out Vin Diesel from the prison bus truck thing. That's
all right. I don't think I've ever seen that one because you know what? Fast and Furious 1 I liked.
Yep.
2 I kind of rolled my eyes at as a kind of straight-to-DVD sequel. And then the Tokyo Drift was kind of like, well, this series has completely gone to shit now.
And I don't know how they fucking revived it for 4, but
I know. But then 4 came out, and it was like a legitimate sequel to the original.
Yeah.
It had all the cats. And then 5 came out, and they brought the Rock in, and it was like, oh, you know what? This isn't about cars anymore. This is just fucking ridiculous.
And then 6 came out, and it's just like, what are those things that drive on 4 wheels again? I'm not sure.
6 is ridiculous. I still think 5 is actually better than 6.
I think 5 is probably my favourite of the series.
Yeah, it's got the most sense of fun about it.
Yeah. 6 is good.
Six is it's a good fun action movie, but
Five.
the thing is the fifth one has got like a brawl between The Rock and Vin Diesel,
Oh yeah, that was the kind of the selling point, wasn't it?
and it was just fucking it's like ridiculous. It's like Godzilla and King Kong fighting each other, just going through walls and stuff and never in buildings.
Windows and stuff. Yeah, every trailer had that. It was insane. It was brilliant. I fucking loved it. I can't remember the point I was trying to make. Yeah, it's in the new Fast and Furious. He's been announced, so it'd be interesting to see what comes of that. But he's also been announced for the Raid 3, and I hope it sticks to more of the Raid formula than, maybe going towards Tony Jaa's recent formula.
No, I hope so, because the thing is, again, like I said this at the beginning, when the Raid 2 was announced, I was like, oh shit, do they really need another one? And you know what? Because the Raid 2 didn't disappoint, I'm in the same situation again. I'm like, really? The Raid 2 was now, like, was the epic sequel. What can you honestly do for a third film?
I know, but this is the thing. I thought that for the second film. I thought, how can they improve? How can they have another Raid?
What's it going to be like? Them fighting in space?
Yeah, Raid in space or something. But I'm a believer. I think they're going to pull something out, and I am eagerly anticipating watching that.
Yeah, we'll meet back in another 2 years and see if which one of us was right.
Absolutely, I'll hold you down to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that was some interesting thoughts from Kash there.
Yeah, he's got a lot to say. Yeah, I mean that's the first movie review he's come in on, so he really loved it. He liked it better than the first movie.
Yeah, I definitely did.
And we didn't actually say in the recording there because we kind of we were going on for so fucking long. But he said he would recommend anyone go and see it, and it was kind of like, you'd happy to pay a full price for a ticket to see this.
I would have. I think the only thing that's sort of this film compared to the original is the pacing.
Yes,
it's the middle section in particular. So it got very heavy and talky.
That's exactly what we said. We said the first and third act are really, really good. They're very, very well paced. They're incredibly creative and violent with their action sequences. But you're right. Well, I feel like you're right. The middle does sag somewhat. That's exactly what we said.
And I did like the performance from what is it, Iko Uwe?
Yes,
playing Rama or Yoda, who definitely is never going to be called Yoda anywhere. I liked him, and then the guy playing Uko I thought was brilliant as well. There was too much focus on him possibly, but I thought the actual actor himself was great.
Yeah, I thought he was quite good as well, and there was a lot of focus on him, so you did need someone who was quite good in the part. But yeah, I think everybody's in agreement. This is a fucking amazing film.
Well, IMDb, I've just seen 7.6 for the first film, which I would think is a fair rating, and then up to 8.8 for the sequel.
Yeah,
it seems about right. And we give this 5 stars, did we?
Yeah, I did the written review, which I did, is on the site now. So go and read that if you want a bit more information on it. But I think what I said to Kash is that I don't think I like this necessarily better than the first one. But I like it's definitely something that it's a worthy sequel, and it doesn't do any harm to the brand name. I
think I just preferred the plot aspect of it, because the first one was so simple. I mean, the fight scenes were the only thing keeping me hooked into it. Every time there wasn't a fight scene, I could easily, if I wasn't being polite at your house, have found myself just tootling around doing something else for 5 minutes until I heard like a plate crash or something. Whereas this film, as saggy as it did get in the middle, I was still wanting to watch to find out what was actually happening, because it was a bit contrived at times, the plot, but I still thought it was quite good and interesting. Yeah. So the Raid is a very, very strong recommendation. Go and see it. But for fuck's sake, go and see it at the cinema. Yeah, please. Because it will encourage people to make films like this and get them shown in mainstream cinemas.
You nervous? How are you? For your test?
No. I was terrified. The only way our society can survive is for each of you to claim your rightful place. Today, you will take a test that will help you discover who you truly are. The future belongs to those who know where they belong. You ready? Okay, so the next one on the list is Divergent, and this is one that only I've been to see. Yeah, you've seen Divergent. Yes, I liked it. I always take a punt on random films every now and again, and this one is one of the ones that paid off, unlike my days of Colin Farrell and
George Clooney from last month.
Oh yeah, Jesus, I forgot about that.
That was a poor day. That was a double bill of mediocrity.
I gotta say, I know fucking nothing about this film.
I didn't know either. This is, I think, the main characters were on Conan one night, and as he was introducing them, no, I tell you a lie, it was Jimmy Kimmel, and he's like, it's from the hit book that no one over 17 knows anything about, but will do soon.
I've never heard of these. I knew that they were based on a book, so basically it feels very much like a film that's riding off the Hunger Games and I suppose Twilight.
And then as a result, Harry Potter. In the written review that's on the site now, I track everything back, and there's only sort of one powerful teen franchise at any one time that I've found, and it's like Hunger Games is about to finish, and another one can just start.
I don't know, Hunger Games is technically only halfway through.
It's got 2 films left.
Yeah, God knows how they're going to pad that shit out.
But like, we had Ender's Game last year that could have spawned a franchise, and there's definitely not going to be anything.
Yeah.
And I can't think of another example now, but there's always going to be a teen film where you put the money in the first one.
Was that Beautiful Creatures one?
Yes, that was one, and then the City of Ashes or City of Bones or whatever was last year.
Oh, City of Bones, yeah.
And none of them take off. So I think there's only room for 1, possibly 2 franchises at a time, and at the minute it's Hunger Games and Divergent from what I've seen.
Is Divergent doing well then?
I think it's doing quite well. I haven't actually looked at that, but IMDb 7.3 rating. Yeah, that's how I was laughing at Ray Stevenson being in it.
I'm just looking down the cast list, and fucking Ray Stevenson caught my eye.
It also stars Zoe Kravitz, and her dad is in Hunger Games, so it's like the whole family's riding high on the teen franchise. But if you want a bit of an overview, it's set in one city. It's set in Chicago in the near future, or the sort of mid-distant future. And it's after some sort of world war. They never go into details on it.
It's exactly like
it's the setup of the Hunger Games, but instead of the Hunger Games, we've got like one country and massive districts that are sort of controlled by one central authority that's abusing them all.
Yeah.
It's divided into 5 factions, the one city, and each faction is given one virtue of humanity, one virtue of being human.
Right.
So, because like the philosophy is, I think, that the reason we have wars is because we're trying to spread ourselves too thin. If you're a good person, you might still be power hungry. So, or if you're sort of a mean person, you might not be that kind of people.
So, do they strip?
You are to focus on one. No, they don't strip emotion. It's just if you're in this faction, you focus on that virtue. You don't have to do anything else.
All right, okay.
You just have to. So, if you're in the faction that be nice to people. You just have to be nice to people, and you do all the jobs that no one else wants to do, but you're happy about it. And you just try and reconcile arguments like, hey, it's okay. And then there's another faction that is one of honesty, so all they have to do is tell the truth all the time. They don't have to worry about anything else. All the other factions will take care of all the other aspects. So they run the sort of judiciary system and the police and the law.
Right.
Because they're conditioned to never tell a lie.
Okay.
And then there's a science faction where the intelligent people go just to research things all day, and the main character, who's known as Beatrice, who becomes Triss as the novel goes on, she's in a faction called Abnegation, which is selflessness.
All right.
And they're in charge of actual governing the city because they'll never think of themselves above anyone else, so they're the best people to run the place.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's, to be honest, the whole setup is more believable than the Hunger Games, because I just don't think the Hunger Games would fly. Like, yeah, I'm surprised there's not a rebellion every year when people have to send their kids to get massacred. But in this, it's like everyone is getting on, and the society does actually function without anyone really being at the bottom. It's all quite equal, so it kind of works. But the problem is, when you get to the age of 17, you get to pick which faction you're in. You don't get forced upon one.
That's
so it's
nice.
like whatever your personality fits into, you get to choose. Yeah,
it's like choosing university. Really.
It's like putting the fucking sorting hat on in Harry Potter.
God.
They have to put on this helmet, and then they do like a test, and it tells them where they'd be best. But they can ignore that and choose whatever they want to choose.
All right.
Just like Harry when he chose Gryffindor, even though the hat said Slytherin. Essentially, it's very similar in that regard. But Beatrice, a la Triss, played by Shailene Woodley, she starts in the.
I believe the only other thing I think. I mean, obviously, she's a young girl. The only other thing I think I've seen her in is The Descendants with George Clooney.
Yeah, and I think she won a lot of awards for that.
The Descendants certainly did get its time on the award circuit.
And I know we're covering another film that she was supposed to be in later, but she did have deleted scenes in Amazing Spiderman 2, because she was cast as Mary Jane.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm assuming she'll be in the third one.
Hmm.
So she starts off in the Selfless Brigade, and then she goes to the test. She gets told that she doesn't fit into any of the group and that she's what's known as a Divergent. And she gets told, just go with it, pick a faction tomorrow at the test, at this ceremony, and just ignore what I've told you today. And she's like, well, what the fuck? You know, this test is supposed to help me and I don't know what to do now. She ends up picking the fifth faction, which I haven't mentioned, which is Dauntless.
Right.
Which is it's obvious she's going to pick that one from the start of the film. It's the coolest one. They wear black, they run everywhere, they climb up walls, they're not scared of anything, that's their skill. And they train day and night to be soldiers to protect the city from, like, whatever's in the evil outside world.
Is there actually anything?
I don't know, it hasn't come up yet. So she picks that one because she just thinks that, well, you know, I don't know where I'm supposed to be in my life, and they look like they're having the most fun.
Let's just go and kill people.
Yeah.
Let's go and kill other people of different colours.
Yeah, so she does that. And then, to be honest, I thought the plot would be she gets told she's Divergent, she gets led into an underground society where she trains to be like a rebel, like a freedom fighter type person.
Yeah.
It's not that at all.
Oh, really?
She in that regard, it's more of a traditional, like a real world story, because a real teenager doesn't have the confidence to sort of, I'm going to be a freedom fighter and a rebel in an underground society. They'll try and fit in first.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think any other teen books do that. Like, you got Katniss, and she's just happy to do what the fuck she wants at any time.
To the detriment of the plot often the time.
Well, exactly. And Harry Potter, who's willing, you know, he bleeds red and gold because he's like Gryffindor through and through. She doesn't know what she is, and that's what makes this more interesting. She's trying to fit in where maybe she shouldn't be.
All right.
And the whole, almost 2/3 of it is about her trying to fit in, and it's not until later on she realises that she shouldn't be forcing it. And it's a really interesting fleshing out of backstory of what's going on.
Right.
And basically the plot is that's the whole setup. That's what this film doesn't have much plot. It's all setup and character development.
It's the first book
Yeah.
in a trilogy or something. Is it a trilogy?
Yeah, it's a trilogy of books,
Of course
but
it is.
obviously they're splitting the third book into two films.
Of course.
That's what you have to do.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Shit. I can't believe that. That's ridiculous. This film hasn't even been out like
I know.
a week.
All four films have release dates. That's how confident they are.
Fuck me. This is like that's so manufactured,
Yeah.
though, isn't it? Like
That's the worst thing about these types of films. They are just manufactured. So the plot is Kate Winslet, she's head of the science faction. She's trying to take power from the Selfless faction because she thinks that, the Selfless are really good at thinking about everyone, but they're not very bright and they're not doing a great job. They're doing a fair job.
but they're not advancing. Them.
Yeah. So she thinks that they do a better job. So she's trying to take control, but at the same time, she's really scared of the Divergent problem. Because it's revealed later on that the way she's going to try and take control relies on the fact that no one is Divergent. So she goes on some sort of, I don't know what you call it, a manhunt for anyone who is actually a Divergent.
Ethnic cleansing.
An ethnic cleansing, yeah.
Of
That's
Divergents.
So I suppose that helps Triss. You know, that's a bit of an incentive not to come out as a Divergent because she's just going to get killed.
Yeah. It's not good.
No. So then, you know, when Triss realises what's going on, she's the only one that can stop it because all of her other friends have been sort of brainwashed because they're not Divergents.
So she's basically the odd one out.
She's the odd one out. But the other main character in it is played by Theo James, who I was like, who the fuck's he all the way through? Like you were with Van der Kamp.
Yeah.
And scroll down his list and you'll see.
I know exactly.
Yeah.
Who he is straight away. Yeah. He's. I didn't realise he was in these other films though. But yeah, he's the guy out of the In-Betweeners movie. Is he the rep? That's real fucker, basically.
Yeah, he's him. And in this, he plays some like a really distant character who doesn't want to interact with anyone, but he kind of obviously falls for.
the love story,
Yeah.
the teenage love story, and the angst.
And I don't care about spoiling this, but boom, boom, when all shit goes wrong, guess who's also a Divergent? The other love interest. It's not Ray Stevenson.
Oh, damn.
No, it's them two have to take on the whole army together, essentially, and when they do, they come out as Divergents, and then they have to go into hiding, and I'm assuming book 2 and 3 goes into the underground section.
Basically into the predicted plot direction.
So while the first film was really original in the way it did things, it's definitely...
fairly formulaic.
Yeah, going into what it's going to be later on. But brilliant film for the first part.
Yeah, you really seem to like this.
I preferred it to Hunger Games because I actually really liked the main character. Shailene Woodley did a great job acting.
I liked Katniss in the first film. Didn't really like her in the second one. I think we did a review for it and we really slated her. Which is a shame, because I love a bit of
She's interesting in the first one, but by the second one I'm just sick of her shit.
I know, yeah. God damn it, Katniss. Get your fucking head screwed on. But,
it's like they can't even let her in on the plan in Hunger Games 2. It's like, she'll just fuck it up.
It's exactly that. That's the whole plot. Let's keep it away from Katniss.
And it really annoys people who haven't read the books. And even when I read the book, and it was just like, oh, so that whole book was for nothing. There was a far more interesting plot actually happening that they didn't tell me about.
Yeah.
That's the bastard thing about first-person books.
Yeah.
If it had been third-person, we might have seen this shit happening, but the other story in Hunger Games 2 is far more interesting than the one that's going on.
Finally revealed it is, yeah. But yeah, you seem to really like Divergent. So
it's got a decent enough cast, and I think the main thing I said in the review is there's times when it looks like it's been made on a bit of a shoestring budget. There's one moment on green screen that looks absolutely atrocious when she's just finished like a rite of passage with this sort of fighty crew, and they go on a zip line, and she zip lines from the basically around Chicago. There's a giant wall, a giant fence, electric fence to stop things getting in.
Right.
And she zip lines from the top of this fence, which is higher than any skyscraper in the city, back to their sort of base. And damn, I think me and you could have produced something more realistic using like a capture card and like Windows Media Player. It looked awful. But then when you've got names like Kate Winslet and Ray Stevenson on the show,
oh, God bless him.
He plays Theo James's like abusive dad.
Oh, even better.
Yeah. there's a whole flashback scene where Theo James, his character's called Four. I think his name was originally Tobias, and when you go into this new faction, you have to change your name. You see,
right,
because you have to sound more badass than you were when you went in.
Well, they're a bunch of badasses apparently.
So, yeah, he's called Four because he has 4 fears, and his 4th fear is his dad. And they go into a flashback or like a dream state, and there's just like 6 Ray Stevensons in a room, and they take off their belt and they like buckle it over and they go over to beat this kid, and that's supposed to be like Tobias Jones when he was younger. And
I still have hopes that Ray Stevenson is cast as Victorian Greyjoy.
He'll be brilliant.
I can't think of anybody who would necessarily be better.
No, I do like him. He's good value.
Yeah, he does a lot of shit films, but when he gets something that's quite good, he is actually pretty good. Like if you ever watch Rome.
Yeah, no, I love
really
him in Rome. He's Mark Antony, is he?
No, he's just like a random kind of character they made for the show.
He's the northern one, though.
He's one of the. He's basically one of the gladiators. One of the soldiers.
Getting them mixed up.
He's tight as Pullo. It was
That's
just
what I
basically
meant.
a random fucking soldier.
I knew he had a name.
He just likes to fight and fuck, basically, and that's pretty much Victorian, really.
He's a bit of a watery character in this, like in the present day stuff, which is a shame. He's the leader of the Selfless faction.
Is he still not doing his dodgy South African accent? Or his Australian accent?
As far as I can tell, he only had one line in this film. Like the rest of the time he was there, he was just like on screen, being a presence.
God damn.
But he's one of the. I really don't care about spoiling this, so if you don't want to listen, don't listen. But he's one of the people that escapes with the Divergence at the end, so he's obviously going to be a character. Yeah. There's not many people get away with them, but he's one of them. So I say Kate Winslet's in it, and I think that's where most of the budget went, because she's a big actress.
She is, and she's good. I like Kate Winslet. She's classy.
I read that she was like heavily pregnant during like most of the filming of this, so
yeah, I had to see.
They cut down on her scenes. They
have to hide her
They hid her, so they filmed a lot of shots with her, like from waist height upwards, or they had her like carrying stuff. And I just get someone else. She wasn't necessary.
Yeah, I like Kate Winslet.
And she had a bit of a crummy American accent as well.
She did a Jodie Foster, did she? Oh, I hope she doesn't become the new Jodie Foster.
Well, lesbian, you mean?
Well, just like
sorry.
Good when they were younger, and then shit when they were older.
Well, if she's pregnant, I think she had other things on her mind.
Oh, possibly. Maybe the script ran out like good. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so you'd recommend this one, would you?
I would. It's a long one, so maybe not a cinema trip if you're not too invested in it. I think it's worth the shot, but I like a lot of films that a lot of people don't like. It's deserving of its 4-star rating.
Exactly what you want to do when you're a critic.
I'm such a shit critic. I'm too easy going for them.
Like that's fine. Too involved in things. Yeah. Think, it's great.
Well, over the course of the 2.5 hours, I fell in love with Shailene Woodley.
Even though we've got...
she's a sassy little thing.
She is.
Yeah.
And she's good in this. She's really good in this. Because she goes from... Imagine being someone who is working in a selfless division, and then she's thrust into a world where she has to do, like, beatdowns and, like, dueling every single day. It's good. She held it together well.
Fair enough.
And, I'd like to see more of her, which is good, because she's going to be in Amazing Spider-Man 3, hopefully.
Yeah? And the next 26 of them that they've got planned.
Yeah, Jesus.
Every day, I wake up knowing that the more people I try to save, the more enemies I will make. And it's just a matter of time before I face those with more power than I can overcome.
So, we were talking about Spider-Man 2 just a second ago.
Yeah.
And I believe you've had the pleasure or the disappointment, I don't know which yet, go and see it.
I haven't, to be like, you knew my theory, my feelings on Divergent before coming into this. I don't think you know how I feel about this film.
I think I have an idea of which way you're leaning.
All right, which way do you think I'm leaning?
I think you'll really like this film.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. My basic synopsis, I haven't written the review yet, but I'm going to come down the line of, it's not as good a film as Captain America Winter Soldier, but I enjoyed it possibly more.
Oh, really?
It's just more fun all the way through. But it also feels quite grounded all the way through.
Really?
Yeah, which is... I don't think there's been a superhero film that's kind of managed both consistently all the way through the film. There was very little that took me out of this.
Well, that's interesting because you're the only person I've heard that had anything really that positive to say about this film.
I don't understand people's... I can understand if you're going to criticise it from a filmmaking point of view, because there's times when it's a little sloppy, and it's not that there's too much going on. They just seem to... They've obviously put things in chronological order and then just picked them out of the hat as to which scene's going to come next. So there doesn't seem to be any real flow, but it's not a case of there's too much stuff going on. Oh,
really? Because that's one of the things I was thinking. When I seen the amount of villains that was shoehorning into it, I was thinking, God damn, did they learn nothing from Spider-Man 3?
Yeah, and I can, from watching the trailer, completely understand that criticism, but Rhino is in less than 3 minutes, I'd say.
Oh, really? Why get Paul Giamatti to...
Because he's going to be in the next one, because it hasn't been wrapped up. He doesn't do anything. You see his origin story in this, and that's pretty much it.
Oh, right.
Spider-Man takes him down at the start of the film before he's Rhino.
Oh, right.
That's that scene that you see in the trailer.
Yeah, where he's shooting the gun.
Yeah, that is hilariously towards the end of the film, to the point where you see the last scene in the trailer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's all set up, Paul Giamatti. So you can take him out of the equation. He's not an extra villain. He's not in it, for the most part.
Okay.
And
then the villain I was most looking forward to.
he's fun. He's in the opening scene. It's almost like a Bond opening.
Oh, really?
Where it's like almost got nothing to do with the rest of the film.
I was kind of hoping it was going to be like that.
Yeah.
If they were just... Because I heard rumours that basically loads of people had screen time cut right down.
Yeah.
And I was kind of hoping they would do it like a Bond-style thing.
Well, that's... I think... that's definitely how that bit plays out, but they've obviously cut a lot out of this film. There's one scene in the trailer that's... I always hate when they use a different take in the trailer to the actual film.
It annoys me.
But in this, there's scenes in the trailer that aren't in the film.
Oh, really?
There's a scene where Harry Osborn and Peter are talking around a table.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, Oscorp has you under surveillance. He's like, why? And he's like, well, isn't that the question of the day? It's like a really cool bit of intrigue. They don't have Peter under surveillance. Harry and Peter never meet in a conference room. So...
Well, yeah, like Harry Osborn's played by Dane DeHaan.
Yeah.
He was an interesting young actor. He's in quite a few good things. He was in Chronicle a few years ago, which was really cool.
Yeah, I love Chronicle. And he was in Place Beyond the Pines.
He was in almost a surprise third
act. Which I wasn't expecting to come from anywhere.
But I like him. Is he any good in this?
He's really good. He plays Harry Osborn, which... if we're going to do comparisons, which I think...
It's James Franco, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's only fair that you do almost with these type of films.
Well, they reboot it so quickly.
He's a much better Harry Osborn than James Franco. He's brilliant. He's not as good a Green Goblin as friggin' Willem Dafoe, though, because how could you possibly be? He was perfect.
I love Willem Dafoe.
He's great. But again, Green Goblin in it for about 5 minutes.
Really?
This is all about Electro.
Oh, good. At least it's Jamie Foxx, man.
Yeah.
I like Jamie Foxx. And to be honest, one of the positives I have heard about this film is that he is good in this.
Yeah.
In fact, I know you like this film, but the other things I've heard is that he's too good to be in this film.
It's almost, yeah. He has some peculiar opening scenes. I'm going to cast your mind back to Batman Forever.
Please don't.
you know the who is it? Jim Carrey plays the Riddler.
Oh yeah.
You know the opening scenes with him where
he's in the office and he's at like a Wayne Corporation.
Yeah, and then Bruce Wayne comes over. They have a bit of a chat. He's met his hero, and Bruce Wayne slightly spurns him. Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life. And then he turns into he has a bizarre scene where he's sat talking to himself.
Oh really?
Jamie Foxx's first two scenes mirror that exactly. So Spider-Man rescues him on the street.
It's funny, you're not the first person to make that comparison.
Yeah, am I not?
No, I've read that as well. He's pretty much Jim Carrey in Batman Forever.
As soon as he turns into Electro, he's absolutely amazing. And that's when the film really picks up. I mean, I had fun in the opening scene with Paul Giamatti because it's just raucous and it's just a complete fun, like, little romp. But it gets a bit awkward in the opening scenes before Electro is formed. Just because watching Jamie Foxx be a nerd and talk to himself is off-putting.
He's not a nerd.
No.
He's fucking...
As soon as he becomes cool as fuck Electro, it takes it up a notch.
Yeah, you can kind of say, like, I can't imagine Jamie Foxx being a nerd. He's cool. I mean, he's fucking in Miami Vice. He's Django. He's just a badass. And
the scene where Spider-Man first encounters Electro, it's in Times Square, and the whole scene, it's about 10-15 minutes long. The whole thing, start to finish, just feels iconic.
Yeah.
There's like Peter Parker's talking to Gwen, and then he just gets a sense that something's going off, and then he heads over, then he has a chat with him, and then there's like the fight scene, and then there's a great shot of Spider-Man in full costume with a NY fire department helmet on, like with a giant fire hose.
Oh, really?
It just looks cool. So if there's two criticisms to make of this film, is that the early scenes of Jamie Foxx are hard to watch. It's just weird. And the scenes just seem to have been plucked out of a hat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in terms of the order, like, the plots all work well and they're all concluded well and they all get fleshed out well, but in terms of the order they're shown, it jumps around in a bizarre fashion.
It does sound like it's almost overstretching itself slightly in terms of pacing, if not content.
And as I say, there's definitely a lot ended up on the cutting room floor. Like, we know that there was an entire Mary Jane plot in this film that was cut out.
Yeah.
And for that part, I can see why, because where this film's strength is, beyond Electro, is the relationship between Peter Parker and Gwen.
Yes, I mean, Gwen Stacy's played by Emma Stone, of course.
Yeah, who, no matter what film she's in, if you go and see it, I just fall in love with her every time.
I really like Emma Stone. She's great. She's got she's got a great charisma about her. She's lovely.
And every scene that she's in just seems to like glisten in this film.
Interestingly enough, though, I'm just looking down the cast list. There's a girl called Felicity Jones here playing Felicia. Is that Felicia Hardy? Or Harding, I can't remember.
Who is Black Cat? Yeah, well, I was talking about this at work the other day in a different conversation, not about the film, but she's definitely not introduced. She's just Harry Osborn's assistant in this.
Oh, right.
It's unclear as to what that's going to turn into.
Well, that does kind of put her in a reasonably, maybe, I don't know.
She's a bit of a named actress to play as assistant. She only has 2 lines in this film.
Right.
So it's possible they've got her bookended for the next one.
And the fact that they've actually bothered to name her as Felicia and put her in that situation, maybe. I don't see her being Black Cat though.
No, she's
like a twig of a girl.
She was a bit wooden in this as well.
Maybe they'll recast her.
I think the thing that I read about this that summed it up really well is that this film proves that Andrew Garfield is a better Peter Parker than Tobey Maguire was, but Spider-Man in Sam Raimi films was better than Spider-Man in this, and I kind of agree with that.
Oh, really?
Peter, like, honestly, when I watch Spider-Man 2, the original Sam Raimi one,
I think it's good, Spider-Man 2.
Peter Parker is so mopey in that film.
He is.
It's ridiculous.
That's the one thing that dragged the old Spider-Man films down. There was too much teenage angst and not enough cool web slinging, because they got the web slinging down, and Alfred Molina as Doc Ock is
brilliant.
Awesome.
And the fight scenes in Spider-Man 2 still hold up really well. They're still so entertaining. Whereas in this, it's almost like the Spider-Man stuff was good, but mainly because of Electro. And like Dane DeHaan was good as Harry Osborn, but when he comes in as Green Goblin, he's not that intimidating.
I've heard he's a bit awkward again.
He's a bit like a pantomime character.
Yeah,
pantomime
I've
villain.
heard that.
And especially, he pops up after Electro's done his bit, and it's just like, well, you know, you've just had Jamie Foxx be a badass, so... But yeah, compare this to the second one, it's almost the teen angsty stuff is better. Like, that's the best part of this film.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, just watching, you know, you've seen 500 Days of Summer. This is what Mark Webb was known for. That's why he got the job. I can see why, because the Peter Parker Gwen Stacy relationship in this film could have been its own film. That it's that
it's
well
a romantic comedy.
Yeah, well, it's just, you know, they've got a bit. It's to and fro, and you know, will they, won't they? You don't know where it's going to end up, and it's just really nice and really well done. And then the sort of putting together of the whole film and some of the action scenes lets it down.
Oh well. So
I'm going to give it 4 stars.
You recommend this one?
I would, but I don't know if I'm right.
Well, I do intend to go and see this.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll weigh in.
I will mention that something I've heard that a lot of people don't like is Hans Zimmer crops up to rewrite all the music.
Oh, really?
James Horner did the first set of music for the Amazing Spiderman.
I don't think I really remember it.
It's not a very memorable theme tune. I had to go back and listen to it, but the first one, if you do listen to it, it's more like a mysterious type of someone realising their potential. Whereas Hans Zimmer walked in, he's like,
trumpets.
He's fucking Spider-Man. Trumpets, ahoy! And
yes, Hans Zimmer. You know.
Yeah, I loved it personally. I think it fits so well with the sort of light-hearted nature of this type of film, and it felt like Hans Zimmer was having fun for the first time in a while as well.
Yeah, he gets really serious with his music often.
Whereas this, he's just like, oh, I can't wait to write a trumpet fanfare theme tune for this. And he wrote some of the music with Pharrell Williams in his group.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's like all the music, all of it, even the orchestral stuff is credited as Hans Zimmer and the Fabulous Six or something. I can't remember it's not the Sinister Seven or something like that, but because they wrote everything together almost. I'm guessing that he wrote the fanfare bits alone, but I'm not sure. Because all of Electro's music is all electric music.
Oh, really?
And it's cool as fuck.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's like the rhythm for some of his themes tunes aren't with drums or electric stuff. It's like people whispering really quickly, like he's gonna get you Spider, like that. Like
really?
So fast you can't hear it until you like listen to it back afterwards.
That's pretty.
It sounds real cool. It's real chilling as well.
Oh, nice.
It's just nice that he seemed to be having fun, and I loved it. But my buddy David said it took him out. The fanfares took him out the moment because they played it quite often, you know, like in Star Trek 2, where they just threw it at you every 5 minutes. It wasn't
heroic.
Yeah, it wasn't quite that bad, but it pretty much was every time something heroic happened, they busted it out. But I liked it.
Never mind.
So 4 stars, and I recommend it. It's fun, and at the minute, I can't think of anything else that I'd rather see just to like while away an afternoon.
Oh, fair enough.
You're gonna have a good time, even if you don't enjoy it.
I do want to go and see this, just to give it a chance, really. But yeah, it's good to see that at least somebody has enjoyed it.
Hi, love.
Hello, Katrina. I have something to say.
What's happened?
I'm not coming home.
You have a call waiting.
This is Ivan Locke.
We have a situation here. You're the man in charge of the entire operation, but you've decided you ain't going to be there.
I'm not going to turn back.
Right, okay. Last up, Locke, which is a film I went to see.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy's new film.
And this is something I know nothing about.
Yeah, well, I did not. I knew very little of it going into it. Pretty much the thing that got me to go and see this was Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Love the guy. He's the last 5 or so films he's been in have all been really good. You know, he's Bane in Batman.
He is.
I obviously did Warrior as well, which is great.
And then where I think I first saw him in Inception.
Inception, I forgot he was in Inception.
I love him in Inception.
He's great in Inception, and he's in Bronson, of course.
And then after I watched Inception with him and thought he was great, I went back and watched The Take.
The Take.
Brilliant in The Take.
Yeah, he's such an evil bastard in that. But yeah, I mean, really, I just love
He's horrible in that.
Oh, he's so horrible, it's ridiculous. I mean, he makes Bane look like a really nice guy. But yeah, Locke, it's a strange...
No, sorry, now I can just imagine like Batman's going down into that basement, Catwoman's letting him there, and his character from The Take's just sitting there in his like shell suit. He's like, "Oh, Spidey, Batman, I'm hung up. Sorry."
Yeah, so this is a film by Stephen Knight, who I think traditionally has been a screenplay writer. His last film was Hummingbird, which was
Jason Statham,
but it wasn't a typical Jason Statham action film.
No.
But it wasn't particularly great either, but he also wrote Eastern Promises and Dirty Pretty Things. The guy's got some credentials behind him. He's done alright for himself in the past, but this is his latest film. And to be fair, this is more akin to a play than it is a movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's a strange one. First of all, the only person in this movie is Tom Hardy.
Alright, so all the other actors, they're all voices.
Yeah, basically, the general plot of this film is that Tom Hardy plays a guy called Ivan Locke, a Welshman. He's got a soft, soothing Welsh accent throughout this movie. It's very nice. But he's a construction manager who is just getting ready to commence a huge concrete pour, the biggest in Europe that's ever been outside of government.
So where's this set, sorry?
It's
somewhere in
the UK.
Okay.
It's across the UK, in fact.
Yeah.
So basically, he's the next day there's going to be this huge concrete pour. He's in charge of it, and he gets into his car to go home after doing the prep for the night, and he gets a phone call from a woman from his past, voiced by Olivia Colman, a woman called Bethan. And basically, what she tells him forces him on a journey across the UK to go and meet this Bethan, and in the process, he's got to basically deal with a lot of different things on the phone because this event, I don't want to spoil it, but this event has forced him away from his responsibilities. And basically this event he's almost forcing himself to do the right thing, but in the process destroy his own life. And it's basically just this play where he's on the phone dealing with a few things. He's dealing with this Bethan, he's dealing with his family on the phone, he's dealing with his job and this concrete pour that's going on. And it's basically, in essence, it's Tom Hardy doing a Welsh accent for an hour and a half, sitting in the car talking to people on the phone, and yet it still manages to be fucking entertaining as hell. Yeah. It's really, really exciting. It's thrilling. I mean, a lot of the plot revolves around him trying to guide his second in command to do all the preparation for this concrete pour. And it's such a ridiculously mundane topic, but it was really exciting. You get really into it, and there's so much there's loads of spanners getting thrown in the works as he's going along, and it's continually exciting, and you never know, what's going to happen next. But as you kind of go along, it's just him sitting in his BMW going across the motorways of of southern England, and there's a lot of really nice kind of cinematography and catching it's all raining, as obviously it's England, and loads of kind of really cool shots of the motorways and stuff. And I was thinking, Jesus, I know half of these places. I've seen loads of these, and it was just something very, very different. And Tom Hardy's great as Ivan Locke. He's, Tom Hardy's
that's where the film title comes from.
Yeah, it's just his surname. It's not I don't think it's even a metaphor. I think it is just his name. But you've got. It's just basically him. He carries the film. He does a great performance here. He's got a lot of range. And as the kind of film goes on, you realise Locke is a man who's very much... he's a decent man who's very much been in control of his life or forever, basically. Everything's kind of in its place, nice and neat. He likes to get things sorted, done and dusted. He likes to run a tight ship. And this spanner in the works, this event, has kind of completely torn all that down in an instant. And you just kind of... as it goes through, he just shows a broad range of emotions, and there's sequences where he's having conversations with his father, who's I think his father's dead, but he's by himself, but he's kind of almost talking to himself, but he's talking to his father at the same time, and it's kind of his father was obviously a bit of a shit, and he doesn't want to be that man. He wants to be. Yeah. He wants to do anything he can to not be that man, even if it means he'll suffer in the long run. But as I said, Olivia Colman is this Bethan character who draws him away. She's Olivia Colman, famous for Broadchurch. Your favourite?
She's too famous for Broadchurch. She's going to win an award next year as well, I hear.
I originally remember seeing her in Peep Show, though.
I remember her from because I came to Peep Show late. Maybe Shaun of the Dead. No, she was in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, she's in Hot Fuzz. I like her. She's a good actress.
I used to like her. She just annoys me now. It's now if you want a dramatic British woman who's not overly sexual.
Yeah,
she just gets the part every time.
Yeah, you're right. But his wife...
I'm more excited by Katrina's voice. I've just seen it.
Yeah.
Ruth Wilson.
Yeah, Ruth Wilson.
She's one of my favourite British actresses at the minute. She's so good.
I like her. The famous... I think a big break was probably Luther.
Yeah.
She was in The Lone Ranger, though.
She's one of the most watchable things in both The Lone Ranger and Saving Mr. Banks.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. I think she's great.
I do like Ruth Wilson, but she's his wife.
And I was just wondering, is there any sort of comic element to this? Because I mean, Olivia Colman's known for dramas now, but she's a comic actress.
No, it's it's very much a serious drama. There's some kind of funny lines occasionally, maybe, but it's very much a drama that gets quite serious, and it's kind of very thrilling because you want to kind of you want to see Locke try and sort this all out over the phone, and it's just not like constantly things are working against him.
It's just when you said that he's trying to get his second in command to take over the project, that sounds like a almost comic relief storyline.
No, I mean,
now I've seen Tom Holland's in there. Is he by any chance the second in command?
No, actually, Andrew Scott is. To be honest, some of these voices who are listed, I have no idea who they are in this film. I can't remember them.
Because Tom Holland I love as well. He's brilliant.
Like, some of these are so kind of casually in and out that I can't even remember half of them. But this is very much Tom Hardy's show. It's, as I say, it's pretty much a one-man play with a couple of voices thrown in. It's something very different. I thought it was really entertaining. It kind of had me gripped and interested. Although I can imagine it probably isn't for anyone. As soon as the film ended, there was a group of lads, proper laddie lads, sitting behind me who obviously thought, "Oh, fucking Bane's in this. Let's go and see that." And they were like, "Well, that was shit." I didn't think it was. I thought it was quite entertaining. It was something a bit different. I don't think it's going to be anyone's favourite film ever, but it was something a bit unusual. It obviously was made with a very limited budget, and it did some great stuff and creative things with it, and I enjoyed it. So I'd say I thoroughly recommend it.
From the trailer, I can see what they were thinking. I mean, they didn't show too much in the trailer. I thought they were leaving a lot out.
The trailer was really good because it leaves you like thinking, what the fuck's that film about? And you expect it to be so much more, but pretty much that shows you the whole film almost, really.
That's bizarre.
And what it does as well, the trailer, because I watched it after I came back, because I hadn't seen it going into this, is it actually it cuts a few different conversations together to like almost throw you off the scent.
All right, that's cool.
So
I don't mind them doing that. That's fine.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Because I was expecting, I think someone at my work said they were thinking it was going to be along the lines of a phone booth style thriller, and I was thinking more Collateral.
I was thinking phone booth going in, but not really. It's very
just on the phone. It's just, and then I always think that when you have such, well, I say limited budgets, that's maybe undercutting it. But when you decide that the focus of your film is going to be in one location, and this is taking that idea to a new level.
Oh yeah,
the script has to be powerful because you've got nothing else going on, really.
Yeah, and the closest thing I can think to this is probably Buried with Ryan Reynolds, which I didn't really like that much, but I really enjoyed this. And the fact that it's only on in like 85 minutes, it doesn't outstay its welcome. It's quite short.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
It's interesting, and I'd recommend people giving it a chance at least. Not necessarily going to the cinema to watch it, but this is one you certainly enjoy in the comfort of your own home. So at least give it a chance as soon as you can.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's it then.
Yeah, Christ.
We've rattled through as best we can there. Yeah. I mean, this recording's at an hour long, but there is a 45-minute segment that you have to insert, isn't there?
Yeah. So, it's we've got quite a bit of material here. But, that was Take 2014 for April, really. I suppose it's our April edition.
It is, yeah. Remember to check out all the reviews on the site. Hopefully most of them will be up by the time this is up.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
And I hope to have Hottie of the Month up as well, even though the winner's already been mentioned in this show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tease.
I'm interested now. I'll have to find out. But so Take 2014, of course, you can find more screenhog.co.uk on both Facebook and Twitter. Just search Screenhog UK. Of course, we're also on iTunes. You can subscribe to our podcast via there, or just subscribe directly to our RSS feed on the site. There's a little button to it on the top right-hand corner of the website on every page. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, where all our podcasts get put up, to enjoy them, as well as any gameplay videos and trailers that we put up. Are we on anything else? No, I think that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much sorted.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, so until next time, thanks a lot.
Let's go get drunk.